I'm just looking at a post a friend of mine. He put it up on Facebook. His name is Michael Filippelli. Michael works for a big radio station in Baltimore, which is well. I used to listen to that a lot when I was back on the East Coast. But he said that he was trying to go on the air, but he made the mistake of sitting down and watching the YouTube video of the Chuckles the Clown episode from Mary Tyler Moore. And Michael has a very serious on-air job, and he said the problem is that he was still laughing when he got to the microphone, and it was a little difficult to go on air after seeing that. That was voted the greatest episode of a television comedy ever made. True story. It was a vote by television critics. That's from the old Mary Tyler Moore show. People having their memories about the passing of one of the biggest stars in television history yesterday, obviously. 24 right now. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. There is a fellow who is serving as the Prime Minister of Australia, which remains one of the best allies the United States has ever had, along with the rest of the English-speaking world. And, well, the makeup of Australia is pretty much the makeup of the United States and Canada and other various places that English-speaking peoples settled around the world. The Prime Minister's name is Malcolm Turnbull, and that's not Australian. That's actually Turnbull is one of the best-known Scottish clans, a very famous clan out of Scotland. So Malcolm Turnbull is descended from some of those people, and he is the leader of the Liberal Party in Australia. Now, before you say, oh, well, there you go, he's a Liberal. The Liberal Party in Australia is not liberal. The Liberal Party in Australia is the equivalent of the Republican Party here. Maybe not quite as conservative, maybe more along the lines of what we remember from the Republicans in the 1970s in this country before Ronald Reagan came in and sort of rewrote the party rule book in a figurative way, not in a literal way. Malcolm Turnbull was being questioned yesterday. Media wanted him to denounce Donald Trump for scrapping the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Media was saying, please throw Donald Trump under the bus so we back in America can tell everybody that Australia doesn't like it. So Americans will say, gee willikers, if people in foreign countries don't like it, then we can't like Donald Trump. Turnbull instead had a different response.
We respect absolutely the decision of the new administration to withdraw from it. Clearly we regret that, but that is President Trump's decision.
So there you go. I'm not going to denounce my fellow English-speaking leader on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. He decided not to do that in that situation. The other part of this is a lot of people say that the treaty could work if there was a rewrite. That is, if there were some changes made. And that Mr. Trump, in fact, a writer by the name of Andrew McCarthy, you may know this guy, he's a frequent talking head on television. Andrew McCarthy was a federal prosecutor. He prosecuted Muslim terrorists going all the way back into the 1990s who tried to blow up the World Trade Center in, 1993? And he's been involved in a lot of these other prosecutions of these various scalawags over the course of the last 25 years. And Andrew McCarthy is a veteran of the Iraqi War, so he's got quite a resume. He's writing at National Review, and he says, why I'm not sorry to see TPP go. And then he spends the first couple of pages just talking about all the benefits of free trade, all of the benefits of trading with our partners across the sea. And you're reading this and you're thinking, well, this doesn't match the title, till you get to page 3. And he's making several points here. This was point 4 in his argument. He says, I am not persuaded that the decision not to proceed with TPP creates a void that will be filled by China. This seems to me an extension of the conventional wisdom that the carnage in Syria and the rise of ISIS resulted, at least in part, from American passivity that left a void in which bad actors flourished. I have always believed this is a fairy tale with respect to Syria. In other words, ISIS was going to come along no matter what, whether we were there or not. Number 5, he says, I am more troubled than the editors of National Review about the fact that TPP is a 5,554-page agreement. Now, what does it take to have free trade? Why do you need nearly 6,000 pages written out? He says, I do not dispute that trade agreements are complicated, but free trade, which simply involves removing impediments to the cross-border movement of goods, is not the reason they are complicated. Protectionism is. Now I'm moving down to point 6 here. Point 6, he says this. One of my principal objections to TPP is the extent to which it is not a trade agreement. You had to figure there were reasons why TPP was so strongly supported by transnational progressives in the Obama mold. Those reasons involve its global governance components, which the international left gives pride of place over the anti-trade misgivings of the progressives in the Bernie Sanders mold. In other words, it's for the globalists. And he says, there is, for example, a TPP chapter on labor. As a very useful summary of TPP from the Cato Institute relates, this section requires countries to adopt and maintain various labor rights, including minimum wage regulations, notwithstanding our ongoing domestic debate over the harm that minimum wage laws do to entry-level workers. Another example, there is a chapter on the environment, which requires countries, among other things, to control substances that are said to deplete the ozone layer, promoting corporate social responsibility and continue transitioning to a low-emissions economy. In other words, close up your factories and let the Chinese build more. And number 7, TPP's promotion of the transnational progressive agenda is not merely just words. Chapter 27 would establish an oversight entity, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Commission, in other words, a shadow government, with sweeping powers, a little bit like the European Union. It would be composed of unelected bureaucrats appointed by member countries and given jurisdiction over, quote, any matter relating to the implementation or operation of this agreement, unquote, including amendments or modifications of the agreement, that is, without the approval of the U.S. Congress or the President, the issuance of interpretive guidance on what provisions of the agreement mean, the establishment of tribunals, that would be courts in other words, and rules, that would be laws of procedure, for resolving trade disputes, and even the admission of new member states to the agreement without the approval of the countries that originally approved the treaty. Do you start to see why this thing was a problem? You know, again, if you want to trade with someone, people have been trading as long as we've had humanity in separate villages. A guy would trade over the hill, or he'd trade with a neighbor. It's called the barter economy. And then it grew into a much larger economy and more complex, but still, the notion of trade remains the same. I have something you want. It could be beef. It could be, I was reading on one of my ag websites yesterday. There's a fellow who runs a company that processes beef in Boise. And Oregon Public Radio did an interview with him because Oregon Public Radio, which probably would have been against this treaty until Donald Trump was against it, and then Oregon Public Radio, the liberals there were suddenly for the treaty. They went out and they interviewed this guy who processes beef at this plant in Boise, and he said, well, the real thing that would benefit us with this Trans-Pacific Partnership is Americans don't eat the innards of the cow. You know, they're not much on cow tongue. I had a grandmother who would boil cow tongue and eat it, but the rest of us would go, ew. You know, she'd offer to serve it to us along with dandelion greens, and we'd say, ew. Well, when you grew up in an impoverished household and lived through the Depression, you learned to eat those things and maybe enjoy them. But Americans don't eat the entrails. Americans rarely even eat the beef liver anymore. I have to confess, I love liver, but I've been warned to stay away from it. You put a little breading on it, you fry it up in a pan and with some onions and the like, and oh, it is heavenly. But anyway, I'm getting off the beaten path there. He says he has a huge market for all of these things in Asia. In other words, when the cattle go to the slaughterhouse, we're eating the steaks and the hamburger. The rest of the world is eating everything else that we don't eat. So he's disappointed because he feels he can't sell these things there. But there's no reason you can't have agreements that are cobbled together or created so you can send these things to these Asian nations that have an interest in them. You don't necessarily need a nearly 6,000-page agreement to make it work. And that's the argument coming from Andrew McCarthy today. And this is the one, the liberals who are now beating Trump up about this, and even some of the conservatives, the capitalists, I guess is a better description. The capitalists who write at the Wall Street Journal are beating Trump up over this, saying, wait a minute, this is going to harm us, and this is going to hurt Americans, and it's going to hurt American farmers, and it's going to... Well, figure out another way to do this agreement without telling us that we're going to be ruled by a government, a shadow government, created of member nations that can add more member nations and tell us what the new laws and regulations are and bypass our own legislative process in Washington. If you can do that, and I think it can be done, you don't need all of this. You don't need someone making pronouncements about global warming and try to control our industry, and that's the other part of that. All right, as a farmer in this country, or a beef processor or a chicken processor, you may be upset because Trump has killed this off for good. But I want you to think about this for a moment. This organization, if we'd gotten involved with this is the same organization that could come and say, well, your pigs and your cattle, and they're creating way too much flatulence, and that's bad, bad, bad for the environment. So we're going to have to tell you that you've got to shut down, 50% of your beef farms. And all of those big pig farms down in North Carolina that keep the economy humming there, they've got to be shut down too as well. And all of those chicken farms on the Delmarva Peninsula, well, all that chicken poop is going into the Delaware and Chesapeake Bay, so you've got to shut those down too. And all of that flatulence coming out of Idaho, well, you're going to have to stop doing that too. That would give them the power over us. So for those of you out there who feel that Trump let you down because he's going to hurt your agricultural business, we can't sell milk. We'd like to sell milk to that part of the world. They don't buy much cheese because the Asian people evolved where they don't process cheese and dairy very well. But still, there are products potatoes, all of these things we could be selling them in droves. What's to stop us from doing it anyway? But without all of these ridiculous regulations and a bunch of liberals out there screaming memes telling us the sky is falling, actually running the whole treaty. 917, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 24, and that may be about the best we do today when it comes to the temperature. Nope, it just slipped back to 23. Just want to remind you, Wednesday morning next week, we're going to be joined likely by Dr. Jonathan Tripp from Tripp Family Medicine. He'll be here between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, and we'll be talking about medical issues. We had, of course, one of the physician assistants join us yesterday, Russell Singleton. It's your opportunity to speak directly with a medical professional without having to be paying a consulting fee for getting your question answered. And we do this every Wednesday between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. Dr. Tripp's office is still looking for new patients. You can actually find Dr. Tripp's office on Fillmore Street on the north side of the city. It's directly across from the main post office. One caveat to this, they like to tell you that they can often see you on the very same day. If you get up in the morning and you have a serious medical issue and you call them, again, it's generally for a serious issue. If you just want to come in and have a checkup done, it's going to be a little more difficult. So we say generally the office can see you on the very same day. You do not, though, get that kind of service with a lot of the assembly line procedures we currently have in the healthcare industry. It's good old-fashioned family medicine, and they have a slogan there, life's too short not to feel good. We've got more coming up. Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. POTUS is on the move. That is the President of the United States. POTUS is the acronym. Marine One just landed at Joint Base Andrews. He is on his way to Philadelphia for the GOP retreat. Republicans gathering in Philadelphia, which was where the beginnings of this country really got started, where our delegates gathered and declared independence and then later helped put together a constitution. Mr. Trump is on his way to the Republican retreat. The helicopter, as I said, just landed after coming from the White House to used to be called Andrews Air Force Base. Now it's Joint Base Andrews, not far from the Kings Dominion Amusement Park in Virginia, which I enjoy a lot more than watching the planes come in and out. We've got more of the program coming up in just a moment. There he goes. Mr. Trump is now climbing up the steps to Air Force One. I wonder how well appointed that is compared to Trump Force One, which was the plane he was flying during the campaign season. I was going to say about the same. Maybe the taxpayers don't actually put in any gold fixtures, though. 22 minutes after 9 o'clock, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. And temperature 22. Well, hey, as I'm wishing my life away, it'll be spring and summer before I know it. And then when it's 105 degrees, I'll be saying, yeah, I wish it was winter again. But I'll be lighter, I hope, going into the summer. As I was telling people last week, a week ago today, I stepped on the scales, and in a matter of just a few months, I've dropped 60 pounds. I've done this with the Total Body Transformation System, which promotes healthy weight loss and wellness. It is not a fad diet. It is a diet that is scientifically proven to be healthy for you, which is why one of my friends from high school, she's a registered nurse, she's using it, and she's had great success just in the first couple of weeks. When she told me she lost 9 pounds in the first week, I was just astounded. But then in the first 11 days I was on the Total Body Transformation System, I dropped 18 pounds in 11 days. In 11 days. And so if you're disciplined about this, the weight loss is healthy, but it can also be rapid. And I'll tell you what, when I've tried other diets in the past, you get disappointed when you suddenly, you don't lose any weight for a few days and you walk away from it, which you shouldn't do. But in the total body transformation system, you can see constant improvement. And I wanted to mention that the researchers who've been looking into this diet and have approved it, they come from some of the leading universities in the country, Cornell, Tufts, and Columbia. The system is by the way, proven to burn 6 times more fat, and you lose 8 times more weight than normal results from diet and exercise alone. You can still have healthy calories. I've discovered that there are certain types of pizza that I can order, and I can eat half that pizza for dinner. If it's the only thing I'm eating, obviously, for dinner, I can still get away with eating half of it, and it comes in under my calorie limit for the day. And the meal replacements, as I've been telling you too as well, are often healthier than some of the other meals you were likely eating. And the meal replacements, people have asked me about cost, pretty much the same as if you were buying the groceries you'd be eating for those meals. And by the way, the average participant will lose 22 pounds in 60 days and 4 inches off the waist. And I wanted to mention there is an unconditional money-back guarantee. If you'd like to know more, you've got to call Don Chandler here in Twin Falls. Don lost 50 pounds extra. Well, 50 pounds at the beginning. He's lost more since then. He was telling me last week he's dropped a few more pounds. Don Chandler is at 208-731-3560. Once again, marketing executive Don Chandler. He's at 731-3560. Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. Some of Mr. Trump's opponents, these are usually the newspaper types, are saying that he's got a madness going on, that he doesn't know what he's doing, that he's too mercurial for the job, which they were telling us for the last couple of years anyway. But what I thought was interesting was Chief of Staff Reince Priebus was on television last night on the Fox News Channel, and he offered that this is going to be a very business-friendly administration. Listen to the growth figures they believe may be ahead if we cut regulations by 75%.
We had meetings here. Some people, if they were watching TV, knew that we had the big car manufacturers. We had some of the biggest companies in America, biggest employers here. We had union leaders here saying the same thing, all on the same page, saying, look, if we're going to be an administration that cuts regulation, that lowers business taxes so that these companies can expand, that we disincentivize companies from moving overseas into Mexico and China, and make doing business in America better for them, well, then the jobs are going to explode. We're going to have maybe 3, 5, 6, 7% growth if these things happen. If Donald Trump becomes the president, which is his goal, of the American worker, of the American manufacturer, forget about politics, because we'll never lose an election as a party. It's about we're going to have a comeback in this country like we've never seen. And that's why these companies, yeah, exactly. And that's why the companies are saying, you know what, this might be a better place to do business.
Why would you do business in China other than the fact that you get really cheap labor? Now, China has been growing, 7% a year for a number of years, huge economic growth. By the way, they have a long, long way to go because ultimately they'll probably never be able to provide for more than 600 million people, which is a pretty small chunk of the nation's population. I guess they plan to kill the rest off. Communists don't have any qualms about that. They've been doing it for a century. But here's the thing. If we had that type of growth, that is even above the average from World War II through about 1975, when the economy in this country was roaring at its heaviest, while the rest of the world was still trying to pick up the rubble from World War II. Those are figures. If we were to hit those, as Priebus said, you would have a Republican dominance in this country for decades to come. The thing is, mainstream media is still telling you this is all wrong because Trump's being mean to us, and you need to think like us, and we need to tell you what to think. Here's a little story. I read this morning at the Daily Caller, which is alternative media. It is a conservative website. Before leaving office, media didn't tell you about this. I saw very little reporting on it. President Obama, before leaving office, moved ahead with an order to deny your Second Amendment rights if you ended up on Social Security benefits prior to retirement not being the issue, but if you had to go on Social Security because of some health issues, they called you mentally defective, and you were to be denied gun rights. Now, Mr. Trump is going to be reversing this. Media didn't tell you about that in late December, did they? Nope, because media doesn't want you to know about it. Talk about alternative facts. It's the omissions that media, we'll know them by their emissions. Meanwhile, E.J. French Dion Jr. from the Washington Post, he's a flaming liberal, has this today. Is Trumpism a scam? And if so, whom is Donald Trump scamming? In his first days, Trump has been riding policy horses that seem to be moving in quite different directions. According to him, you cannot appease both big business leaders and working class people, some of whom are unionized. In other words, in the Democrats' world, the bad guys are always people who run businesses and provide jobs. And the good guys are always the guys going out on strike. Well, why can't you have both? Let me put it this way. If you're a union worker and Mr. Trump says we're going to be bringing back manufacturing jobs, are you at all upset that it might benefit the company if you end up with one of those jobs? And this is what the liberals don't want you to put together. The fact of the matter is, it can be win-win. In lefties' world, somebody's always a victim. You understand that? Somebody's always got to be the victim. So in lefties' world, it's bad that Mr. Trump hobnobs with business leaders and promises to cut regulations, despite the fact it might make tens of millions of jobs reappear in this country and put Americans back to work. Somebody, I don't know. There's no way to make these lefties understand. They really know. They can't be that flaming stupid. They really know what's going on. They can't bring themselves to admit it. Bill Cowley with you this morning on Top Story. Also coming up a little later, speaking of omissions, March for Life in Washington, I believe tomorrow, the national one. And think about how the coverage of that will compare to what happened when all of the women in comfortable shoes were out in Washington last Saturday. Yeah, I know what's going to happen there. 9:30, 23.